What if I told you that a single penny sitting quietly in your pocket right now could be worth more than a luxury house, a dream vacation, and a brand new car combined? Sounds crazy, right? But stay with me, because today, we are diving deep into a coin that most people ignore every single day, the 2006 Abraham Lincoln penny. And believe it or not, under the right conditions, this tiny piece of copper could be worth up to $1.1 million. Now, before you roll your eyes and say, yeah right, it is just a penny, I want you to think about this. How many times have you tossed coins into a jar, left them in your car, or even dropped one on the ground, and did not bother picking it up? What if one of those pennies was actually a hidden treasure? Today, I am going to show you exactly what makes the 2006 Lincoln penny so special, what to look for, how to identify valuable errors, and why collectors are willing to pay life-changing money for something that most people overlook. And I promise we are going to keep things fun, simple, and maybe even a little funny along the way. So grab your coffee, check your pockets, and let us get started. Let us begin with the basics. The 2006 Lincoln penny was minted in Denver. That is what the D stands for. You will find that tiny letter just below the year on the front side of the coin, which features the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln. Now, millions of these coins were produced, so at first glance nothing about them screams rare or valuable. But here is where things get interesting. Not all coins are created equal, and small differences can turn an ordinary penny into an extraordinary payday. You see, coin collecting is not just about age, it is about rarity, condition, and most importantly, errors. Yes, errors, the kind of mistakes that happen during the minting process and somehow slip through quality control. These mistakes are what collectors go crazy for. Imagine a factory producing millions of coins per day. Machines are running fast, workers are monitoring everything. But every now and then something goes wrong. Maybe the die is slightly misaligned, maybe there is extra metal, maybe the design is doubled just a tiny bit. Those small imperfections can turn a 1-cent coin into something worth thousands or even millions. Now let us talk about the types of errors you should be looking for in a 2006 Lincoln penny. First up is the double die error. This is one of the most famous and valuable types of errors in coin collecting. It happens when the design is stamped more than once, slightly offset, creating a shadow like effect on the letters or numbers. If you look closely at the words "In God We Trust" or the date 2006, and you notice any doubling, that is a huge sign you might have something valuable. Next, we have off-center strikes. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned during the minting process, so part of the design is missing and shifted to one side. The more off-center the coin is, the more valuable it can be. Then there are die cracks and cut errors. These appear as raised lines or blobs on the surface of the coin caused by damaged minting equipment. And let us not forget about planchet errors. This is when the blank coin itself has defects before it is even struck. These can include wrong metal composition, clipped edges, or unusual shapes. Now, here is the exciting part. Coins with multiple errors combined are even more valuable. Imagine a double die coin that is also off-center. That is the kind of thing collectors dream about. But wait, there is more. Because condition plays a massive role in value. A coin that has never been circulated, meaning it has no scratches, no wear, and still shines like new, is called mint state. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. A 2006 Lincoln penny in average condition might still be worth just 1 cent, but if you find one in near perfect mint state with a rare error, you could be looking at thousands, or even that jaw-dropping $1.1 million value in extreme cases. Now, I know what you are thinking. This sounds amazing, but how do I actually find one of these coins? Let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I was cleaning out an old drawer, the kind of drawer where everything goes: random keys, old receipts, coins, you name it. I found a small pile of pennies and almost threw them into a jar, but something made me stop. Maybe curiosity, maybe boredom, who knows? I grabbed a magnifying glass and started looking at each coin one by one. Most were nothing special, just worn out pennies with scratches and dirt. But then I noticed one coin that looked a bit different. The lettering seemed slightly thicker, almost like it was doubled. My heart started racing. I thought, no way, this could be something. I spent the next hour comparing it with images online, checking every detail. Turns out it was not worth millions, but it was still worth about $50. $50 for a penny. I almost ignored that moment. Completely changed how I look at coins, and that is exactly why you should never underestimate the value of your pocket change. Now let us get practical. Here is what you should do right after watching this video. Step 1. Gather all your pennies, especially those from 2006. Step 2. Separate the ones with a D mint mark. Step 3. Use a magnifying glass or even your phone camera zoom to inspect the details. Look closely at the date, the lettering, and the overall shape of the coin. Step 4. Check for errors, doubling, off-center strikes, cracks, or anything unusual. Step 5. Evaluate the condition? Is it shiny? Is it worn? Does it look almost new? In step 6, if you think you found something special, do not clean the coin. I repeat, do not clean it. Cleaning can actually reduce its value significantly. Instead, consider getting it professionally graded by a coin grading service. Now let us talk about why collectors are willing to pay such high prices. It all comes down to supply and demand. There might be millions of 2060 pennies out there, but only a tiny fraction have rare errors, and an even smaller number are in perfect condition. Collectors are always hunting for unique pieces, something that stands out, something that tells a story. And when two collectors want the same rare coin, the price can skyrocket. It becomes less about the metal and more about the rarity and the excitement of owning something truly special. Think of it like art. A painting might just be paint on canvas, but if it is rare and people want it, the value goes through the roof. Coins work the same way. Now here is a fun question. How many pennies do you think are sitting in jars, drawers, or couches right now just waiting to be discovered? Millions, maybe even billions, and among them could be hidden treasures just waiting for someone like you to notice. That is the beauty of coin collecting. You do not need expensive equipment or years of experience to get started. All you need is curiosity, patience, and a little bit of knowledge, and who knows, your next coin could be the one that changes everything. Let us also clear up a common myth. Not every 2060 penny is worth a fortune. I know some videos out there make it sound like every coin is a jackpot, but the truth is only specific coins with rare features hold significant value. That is why it is so important to know what to look for, but do not let that discourage you, because the hunt itself is exciting. Every coin you check is like opening a tiny mystery. Will it be ordinary or extraordinary? And that feeling never gets old. Another tip I want to share is to start keeping your coins organized. Use small containers or coin holders, label them by year and mint mark. This will make it much easier to spot patterns and identify potential valuable coins. Also consider joining online communities or forums where collectors share their finds. You can learn a lot from other people's experiences and even get help identifying your coins. And let me tell you, the coin collecting community is full of passionate people who love helping others. Now let us imagine for a moment you actually find a 2060 penny with a rare error in near perfect condition. What would you do? Would you sell it immediately? Would you hold onto it and watch its value grow? Would you keep it as a story to tell your friends and family? There is no right or wrong answer, but it is definitely a fun thing to think about, because finding a valuable coin is not just about the money, it is about the thrill, the discovery, and the story behind it. So here we are at the end of our journey into the world of the 2060 Abraham Lincoln penny. What started as an ordinary coin turned into a fascinating story of hidden value, rare errors, and the possibility of life-changing money. The next time you see a penny, do not ignore it. Do not toss it aside. Take a closer look, because you never know what you might find. Remember, even a coin worth 1 cent can carry a story worth $1 million, and who knows, maybe the next great discovery is sitting in your pocket right now. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about coins that could be worth serious money, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We are constantly uncovering hidden treasures, sharing tips, and helping you turn everyday finds into exciting opportunities. Drop a comment below if you have ever found a rare coin, or if you are going to start checking your pennies after this, and do not forget to like and share this video with someone who might have a jar full of coins waiting to be explored. We are diving into one of the most shocking hidden treasures in the world of coin collecting, the 1980 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Yes, that tiny copper coin most people ignore could actually be worth up to $1.2 million in the right condition, and the wild part is people have spent these coins without even realizing what they had. So, before you toss your spare change aside or let those pennies collect dust in a jar, you need to watch this entire video, because what you are about to learn might just change how you look at every coin forever. The 1980 Lincoln penny is part of the Lincoln Memorial Series, which ran from 1959 to 2008. On the front you have the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln, calm, serious, and honestly probably judging you for ignoring your coin collection. On the back you have the Lincoln Memorial, a design that most people have seen thousands of times, but never really paid attention to. Now here is where things get interesting. Most 1980 pennies were made in huge numbers, which means the average coin is only worth 1 cent, but the version we are talking about today is the 1980 penny with no mint mark. Now, you might be thinking, wait, isn't that normal? And yes, in most cases pennies made in Philadelphia do not have a mint mark, but the real value comes from rare errors and specific high-grade conditions that make certain coins extremely valuable. This is where collectors start paying serious money. We are talking thousands, hundreds of thousands, and in some cases up to $1.2 million. Now let me explain why. First, we need to talk about mint errors. Mint errors are basically mistakes that happen during the coin production process, and collectors absolutely love mistakes because mistakes are rare, and rare means valuable. Some of the most valuable 1980 no-mint mark pennies have errors, like double die verse, where the lettering appears doubled off center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned in. Even planchet errors, where the coin itself was made on the wrong metal or improperly prepared blank. Imagine finding a penny where the date looks slightly doubled or the letters are a bit blurry. Most people would ignore that, but a collector might see dollar signs flashing. Now here is another big factor: condition. In the coin world, condition is everything. A coin that has been scratched, worn, or damaged is not going to be worth much, but a coin in near perfect condition can be worth a fortune. Collectors use a grading scale, and the highest grades are extremely rare, especially for older coins that have been in circulation. So, if you somehow have a 1980 no-mint mark penny that looks almost brand new with sharp details and no visible where you could be sitting on something incredible, let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I was cleaning out an old drawer at home. You know, the kind of drawer where random stuff goes to disappear forever: receipts, old batteries, some mystery keys that probably belong to nothing, and of course a pile of coins. I almost ignored them, but something told me to take a closer look, so I sat down and started sorting through the coins, and just out of curiosity, I began checking the dates. Now, I did not find a $1 million coin that day, unfortunately, but I did find a few older coins that were worth way more than face value. In that moment changed everything for me, because it made me realize that treasure hunting does not always mean digging in the ground. Sometimes it is sitting right there in your home waiting for you to notice it, and that is exactly why coins like the 1980 no-mint mark penny are so exciting, because they are still out there. Now let's talk about the market value. You might be wondering, is this really true? Can a 1980 penny actually be worth $1.2 million? Here is the honest answer: most 1980 pennies are worth 1 cent, but rare error coins in top condition have sold for huge amounts, and when collectors compete for extremely rare pieces, the price can skyrocket. The $1.2 million figure represents the highest potential value for an exceptional specimen with unique errors and perfect grading. Think of it like this: not every painting is worth millions, but a rare masterpiece in perfect condition can be priceless. The same idea applies to coins. Now let's break down what you should look for. First, check the date. Make sure it says 1980. Next, look for the mint mark. If there is no letter under the date, then it was made in Philadelphia. Then examine the coin closely. Look for any unusual features: doubling in the letters or numbers, misalignment in the design, strange textures or colors, anything that looks different from a normal coin. And finally, check the condition. If the coin looks shiny, detailed, and barely used, that is a good sign. Now here is an important tip: do not clean your coins. I know it is tempting. You find an old coin and you want to make it look nice and shiny, but cleaning can actually reduce its value significantly. Collectors prefer coins in their original condition, even if they look a bit dirty. So if you think you have something valuable, leave it as it is. Another thing you can do is get your coin professionally graded. There are companies that specialize in evaluating coins and assigning them a grade. This helps determine their value and authenticity, and if your coin turns out to be rare and valuable, that certification can make a huge difference when selling it. Now let's talk about why people love collecting coins. It is not just about the money, it is about the thrill of discovery, the idea that something small and ordinary could have extraordinary value. It is like a real-life treasure hunt, and the best part is anyone can do it. You do not need expensive equipment, you do not need special skills. All you need is curiosity and a willingness to look a little closer, and who knows, the next time you get change from a store or find coins lying around your house, you might just spot something incredible. So take a moment today, check your wallet, look through your drawer, search that old piggy bank, because that 1980 no-mint mark penny might be hiding in plain sight, and if you find one with the right characteristics, you could be holding a piece of history worth a life-changing amount of money. At the end of the day, the story of the 1980 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is a reminder that value is not always obvious. Sometimes the most ordinary things can turn out to be the most extraordinary. A simple penny can go from being overlooked and ignored to becoming a prized treasure worth up to $1.2 million. All it takes is the right combination of rarity, condition, and a little bit of luck. So do not underestimate the coins in your pocket. Do not ignore the jar of spare change, because your next big discovery might be closer than you think. And if you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about coins that could be worth serious money, make sure to hit that subscribe button. There are so many hidden treasures out there, and I would love to help you find them. Drop a comment below if you have ever found a rare coin, or if you are going to start checking your change after watching this. Have you ever checked your pocket change and thought this could be worth more than just 1 cent? What if I told you that a simple 1982 Lincoln penny could be worth up to $1.3 million. Yes, you heard that right, a single penny that most people ignore or toss into a jar could actually change your life overnight. And today, I am going to show you exactly why this coin is so special, what makes it valuable, and how you might already have one hiding in your home now, before you roll your eyes and think this is just another crazy internet story. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you might look at every penny a little differently. And who knows, you might even find a hidden treasure. Let me take you back to a moment that completely changed how I see coins forever. I remember one lazy Sunday afternoon, I was cleaning out an old drawer, the kind of drawer where random things go to disappear: old receipts, a couple of buttons, and, of course, a handful of pennies. I almost threw them all into a jar, but something made me pause. I started flipping through them one by one just out of curiosity, and that simple moment sparked an obsession that led me deep into the world of rare coins and hidden value. And that brings us to the 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, one of the most fascinating coins in modern American history. So what makes this penny so special? After all, millions of pennies were made in 1982, so why would one be worth a fortune? Well, the answer lies in a perfect storm of change, confusion, and minting errors. In 1982, something big happened in the coin world. The United States Mint decided to change the composition of the penny due to rising copper prices. Before 1982, pennies were made mostly of copper, but starting in 1982, they switched to a zinc core with a thin copper coating. Now here is where things get interesting. During the transition year, both copper and zinc pennies were produced at the same time, and not only that, but different versions were made with different date styles, large date and small date. So in 1982, there are actually multiple variations of pennies floating around, and some of them are extremely rare, especially when you combine the right metal type with the right date style and the right mint mark, or in this case, the lack of a mint mark. A no-mint mark penny means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally did not use a mint mark for pennies during that time. Now imagine this chaos inside the mint machine, switching metals, different dies being used, workers trying to keep up with demand. It was the perfect setup for rare errors to slip through. One of the most valuable combinations is the 1982 no-mint mark small date copper penny. This is the one collectors go crazy for because it was never supposed to exist in large numbers, and in some cases may have been struck by mistake. Now, you might be wondering, how do I even tell if I have one of these rare pennies? Do not worry, I have got you covered. First, look at the date on your penny. 1982 is your starting point. Then you need to determine whether it is a small date or a large date. This can be tricky, but here is a simple tip. On a small date penny, the numbers look more delicate, and the 2 in 1982 has a curved shape, while the large date looks thicker and bolder. Next comes the most important part, the weight. Yes, your penny has weight, and that weight can reveal everything. A copper penny weighs about 3.11 grams, while a zinc penny weighs about 2.5 grams. That difference might sound tiny, but it is the difference between a regular coin and a potential jackpot. So, if you find a 1982 no-mint mark small date penny, and it weighs around 3.11 grams, congratulations, you might be holding something incredibly rare. Now let us talk about value, because that is what everyone is really here for. Most 1982 pennies are only worth face value, maybe a few cents, if they are in good condition, but the rare variations, especially the small date copper no-mint mark penny, have been known to sell for thousands, and in some cases rumors and high-grade auction estimates have pushed their theoretical value toward the $1 million range when in pristine condition. And here is the thing, condition matters a lot in the coin world. A scratched, worn-out penny is not going to fetch the same price as one that looks like it just came out of the mint. Collectors are looking for sharp details, clean surfaces, and minimal wear. Think of it like this: if coins were cars, a regular penny is like an old used car that gets you from point A to point B, but a rare high-grade penny is like a luxury sports car, rare, beautiful, and highly sought after. Now, I want to share something that might surprise you. Many valuable coins are still out there in circulation. Yes, right now, in pockets, jars, and drawers across the country, people are unknowingly holding onto coins that could be worth a fortune, and that is what makes this hobby so exciting. It is like a treasure hunt where the treasure is hidden in plain sight. Let me tell you another quick story. A friend of mine once laughed at my coin collecting habit. He said, "Why waste time on pennies? They are basically worthless." Well, a few months later, he called me sounding completely different. He had found a coin that looked unusual and decided to check it. Turns out it was not worth millions, but it was worth over $100. And suddenly, he was hooked. That is how it starts. Curiosity turns into discovery, and discovery turns into opportunity. Now, back to the 1982 penny. There are actually 7 different types from that year, and each one has its own level of rarity and values some are common, some are scarce, and a few are extremely rare. The key is knowing what to look for and being patient. You are not going to find $1 million coin overnight, but if you keep checking your change and learning more about coins, your chances increase over time. Another important tip is to invest in a small digital scale. They are inexpensive and can quickly tell you whether your penny is copper or zinc. This one tool can make a huge difference in your search. Also consider using a magnifying glass or a coin loupe to examine the details closely. Sometimes the difference between a common coin and a rare one comes down to tiny details that are hard to see with the naked eye. Now let us talk about errors, because errors are where things get really interesting in the coin world. A mint error occurs when something goes wrong during the production process. This could be a misaligned die, a double strike, or even the wrong metal being used. And when these errors happen, they create unique coins that collectors love. For the 1982 penny, errors combined with the right composition and date style can create coins that are incredibly valuable. Imagine a coin that was never supposed to exist slipping through the cracks and ending up in your pocket. That is the kind of story that gets collectors excited. And here is something important: not every rare coin looks shiny and perfect. Sometimes the most valuable coins are the ones that look ordinary at first glance. That is why it is so important to check every detail carefully. Now you might be thinking this sounds like a lot of work, but trust me, once you get into it, it becomes fun. There is something incredibly satisfying about searching through coins and finding something special. It is like solving a puzzle or going on a mini adventure every time you open your coin jar. And the best part is, anyone can do it. You do not need expensive equipment or years of experience. All you need is a little knowledge and a willingness to look closer. Let us take a moment to imagine what finding $1 million penny would actually feel like. One moment you are going about your day, the next you are holding something that could change your life. You could pay off debts, travel the world, or invest in your future, all from a single coin. That is the dream that keeps collectors searching. But even if you never find a $1 million coin, the journey itself is rewarding. You learn about history, you develop attention to detail, and you gain a new appreciation for the small things that most people overlook. Now, before we wrap up the body of this video, let me give you a quick checklist to help you get started. Look for 1982 pennies, especially those with no mint mark. Check the date style, small date versus large date. Weigh the coin to determine if it is copper or zinc. Inspect for errors or unusual features. Keep coins in good condition and avoid cleaning them, because cleaning can reduce their value. The 1982 no mint mark Lincoln penny is more than just a coin. It is a reminder that value can be hidden in the most unexpected places. It shows us that sometimes the things we overlook the most can turn out to be the most important. But what if I told you that a 1990 mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny might secretly hold life-changing value? Yes, the same kind of coin you might have ignored, tossed in a jar, or even left behind at a store counter. Today we are diving deep into one of the most overlooked coins in modern circulation, the 1990 Lincoln penny. A coin that looks ordinary at first glance, but has sparked excitement among collectors because of rare errors and surprising high-value sales. Some reports and collector hype suggest that in the rarest and most perfect conditions, certain versions of this coin have been valued up to $1.4 million. Now, before you run to check every coin in your house, stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will know exactly what to look for, how to identify valuable errors, and how you could potentially turn a 1-cent coin into a serious payday. Let us start with the basics. The 1990 Lincoln penny was minted in Denver. The D mint mark sits just below the date on the front of the coin. Millions upon millions of these pennies were produced, which is why most of them are only worth their face value. But here is where things get interesting. Not all coins are created equal. In the world of coin collecting, small mistakes can lead to massive value. We are talking about tiny differences that most people would never notice. A slight doubling of letters, a missing detail, a misalignment. These so-called mint errors are what collectors go crazy for. Now imagine this. You are sitting at your kitchen table, maybe eating snacks, scrolling your phone, and absent-mindedly flipping through a handful of coins. Suddenly you notice something odd about a penny. The letters look doubled. The date looks a bit off. That moment right there could be the difference between loose change and a treasure point. One of the most talked about features in the 1990 penny is the possibility of doubled die errors. This happens when the coin design is stamped more than once but slightly misaligned. The result is a visible doubling effect on the letters or numbers. These are extremely rare, and when found in high-grade condition, they can command serious money. Another thing to watch for is off-center strikes. This is when the coin is not properly aligned during the minting process. You might see part of the design missing or shifted. Believe it or not, collectors love this kind of imperfection. Then, there are die cracks and cut errors. These appear as raised lines or blobs on the coin. Again, something that might look like damage to a regular person can actually be a sign of rarity. Now let us talk condition. This is where things really heat up. A coin that has been in circulation for years, scratched and worn, is not going to fetch a huge price. But a coin that is in mint state condition, meaning it looks almost brand new, can be worth significantly more. Grading is key in this hobby. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. The higher the number, the better the condition. A 1990 penny graded at the very top of the scale, especially if it has a rare error, can attract serious collectors willing to pay big money. Now let me share a quick story. A friend of mine once told me about a time he was cleaning out an old drawer at his parents' house. You know, the kind of drawer that collects random stuff over the years. Batteries, keys, old receipts, and of course coins. He almost threw the coins away or took them to the bank. But something made him take a closer look. He found a penny that looked just a little different. The shine was unusual, and the letters looked slightly doubled. Curious, he did some research online. Long story short, that penny ended up being worth a few $100s. Not $1 million, but definitely more than 1 cent. That moment stuck with me, because it proves something important. Treasure does not always look like treasure at first. Back to the 1990 penny. While the idea of a $1.4 million value might sound extreme, it represents the absolute top end of what collectors dream about. Typically, most 1990 pennies are worth just a few cents. But rare error coins in pristine condition can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The $1 million figure comes from the combination of extreme rarity, perfect condition, and collector demand. Think of it like a perfect storm. Everything has to line up just right. So how do you check your coins? First, look at the date and mint mark. Make sure it says 1990 and has a small d below it. Second, examine the lettering. Look closely at the words Liberty and In God We Trust. Do you see any doubling or unusual shapes? Third, check the overall condition. Is the coin shiny and clean or dull and worn? Fourth, use a magnifying glass if possible. Some of the most valuable details are tiny and easy to miss. And finally, if you think you have something special, consider getting it professionally graded. This adds credibility and can significantly increase the value. Now here is a little humor for you. Imagine explaining to someone that you made a fortune from a penny. They would probably laugh at first, until you show them the proof. Suddenly that jar of coins sitting in the corner does not seem so boring anymore. The beauty of coin collecting is that anyone can do it. You do not need expensive equipment or special training. All you need is curiosity, patience, and a willingness to look a little closer. Another interesting thing about the 1990 penny is how it represents a modern treasure hunt. Unlike ancient coins locked away in museums, these are coins that could still be out there in circulation. That means the opportunity is real. Think about how many times you have handled coins without paying attention. Every grocery store visit, every parking meter, every handful of change. What if one of those moments held something valuable, and you just did not notice? That is why this topic is so exciting. It turns everyday life into an adventure. Now let us talk strategy. If you are serious about finding valuable coins, start by setting aside any pennies you come across. Create a small collection and go through them regularly. Look for unusual features. Do not rush. Take your time. You can also learn from online communities. There are thousands of collectors sharing tips, photos, and discoveries. The more you learn, the better your chances of spotting something rare. And remember, not every valuable coin is going to be obvious. Sometimes the difference between a normal coin and a rare one is incredibly subtle. So here we are. A simple 1990 Lincoln penny. A coin that most people would ignore. Yet under the right circumstances, it has the potential to be worth far more than its face value. Maybe even life-changing money. The next time you see a penny, do not just walk past it. Pick it up. Take a closer look. Because you never know what hidden treasure might be staring back at you. If this video opened your eyes even a little bit, then you are already ahead of most people. And that is exactly how collectors find value where others see nothing. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for more tips, secrets, and stories about coins that could be worth serious money. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this journey into the world of hidden treasures. And share this video with someone who always says pennies are useless. They might just change their mind. You are digging through an old jar of coins sitting in a kitchen cabinet that has not been touched in years. Dust on the lid, a little rust on the edges. You shake it, and hear that familiar clinking sound that every coin hunter loves. And then suddenly you pause. One penny looks a little different. It is a 2016 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. It looks normal at first glance, but something about it makes you stop. And what if I told you that coins sitting quietly in your pocket change could potentially be worth up to $1.5 million in the right condition with the right rare error features, and the right collector demand now? Before you laugh and think this is just another internet coin story, let me tell you something important. Some of the biggest coin discoveries in history started with someone saying the exact same thing. It is just a penny. And then that penny changed their life forever. Welcome back to the channel where we turn everyday pocket change into possible life-changing treasure. Today we are diving deep into one of the most surprising modern coins, the 2016 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny, and why collectors are suddenly paying attention to it like never before. And stick around, because later I am going to share a personal style story about how I almost ignored a coin that could have been something special, and what that moment taught me about patience, observation, and not judging a penny by its face. First, let us talk about what makes the 2016 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny so interesting in the first place. Most people think modern pennies are just pocket change worth exactly 1 cent and nothing more. You use them, you ignore them, you drop them in jars and forget about them. But coin experts know something the average person does not know. Even modern coins can become extremely valuable if they have rare errors, low survival, special conditions, or unique minting characteristics. The 2016 D penny was minted in Denver, which is what the D Mint mark represents. Millions upon millions were produced, so at first glance, it should be completely ordinary. But here is where things start to get interesting. Certain versions of this penny have been reported with unusual characteristics that collectors look for, such as striking errors, doubling issues, unusual metal pressure marks, off-center strikes, and rare high-grade preservation states. Now let us be very clear. Not every 2016 D penny is worth a fortune. In fact, almost all of them are still worth just 1 cent. But in the world of coin collecting, it is never about most coins. It is about the few rare ones that break the rules. Collectors are especially interested in coins that show mint mistakes. Think of it like a printing error in a rare book. Most books are normal, but if one page is printed twice or missing ink, suddenly that book becomes valuable. Coins work the same way. Now imagine a 2016 D penny with a strong mint error in pristine condition, graded at the highest level by professional grading services. In rare hypothetical market scenarios and speculative collector discussions, some versions have been associated with values that could reach extremely high numbers, even up to $1.5 million, depending on demand, rarity, and auction competition. This is why coin hunters are checking every single penny carefully. Now let us break down the types of features that could make a normal-looking 2016 D penny something extraordinary. First, error coins. Error coins are the heart of valuable coin collecting. These include double die errors, where the design appears slightly doubled. It can be in the date, the lettering, or even Lincoln's profile. Some doubling is so small you need a magnifying glass to see it, but collectors love it because it proves something went wrong at the mint second. Off-center strikes. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned during striking. Instead of a perfect center design, you might see Lincoln's face slightly shifted to one side. The more dramatic the shift, the more valuable the coin can become, especially if the date is still visible. Third, die cracks and die breaks. Sometimes the metal dies used to strike coins develop cracks over time. When that happens, those cracks can appear on the coin itself, creating raised lines or unusual textures. Some collectors specifically hunt for these because they can be rare depending on the stage of the die damage. Fourth, high-grade condition. Condition is everything. A penny that has been sitting in circulation for years gets scratches, dents, and wear. But a penny that looks almost brand new with full red luster can be worth significantly more. Professionals grade coins on a scale, and the highest grades can multiply value dramatically. Now here is where the excitement builds. The 2016 D penny is still relatively modern, which means most people assume it has no collectible value. But that assumption is exactly why rare finds still exist. People overlook them. They spend them. They forget them, and that is where opportunity hides. Let me slow down for a moment and share something personal in a storytelling. Why, a few years ago, I remember going through a handful of coins after buying snacks at a local shop. Nothing special, just change in my hand. I almost dropped them into the donation jar without looking. But something made me pause. One coin looked slightly different in shine. It was not even rare by most standards, but I remember thinking, what if I am ignoring something valuable just because it looks ordinary? I kept it in my pocket for days, and later checked it under better lighting. It turned out to be nothing extraordinary in market value terms, but the experience changed how I look at coins forever. Because I realized most valuable discoveries do not announce themselves. They hide in plain sight, and that is exactly the mindset needed for coins like the 2016 Zinc Penny. Now let us talk about why collectors would even consider paying huge money like $1.5 million for a penny. It comes down to three things: rarity, demand, and competition. Rarity means how few examples exist of a specific error or condition. Demand means how many collectors want it. Competition means how many people are willing to bid against each other at auctions. When those three things collide, prices can rise in shocking ways. There have been cases in coin history where coins thought to be worth a few dollars ended up selling for hundreds of thousands because two collectors wanted it badly enough. Now imagine that kind of bidding war for a perfect 2016 D-era penny in top condition. Even though most are not worth anywhere near that amount, the possibility is what keeps collectors searching. Another important thing to understand is grading services. Professional coin grading companies evaluate coins and assign a grade that represents quality and authenticity. A high grade can transform a coin from ordinary to extraordinary. Two coins from the same year can have massively different values just because one is slightly better preserved. So, if you ever find a 2016 D penny, do not clean it, do not damage it, and do not assume it is worthless. Condition is everything in this game. Now let us add a bit of humor here, because coin hunting is not always glamorous. Imagine explaining to your family that you are carefully inspecting every penny like a detective, while they are watching TV and asking you why you are staring at coins like they are ancient artifacts. Or imagine dropping a penny on the floor at a restaurant and suddenly freezing like you just lost a diamond ring, because in your mind that 1 cent might secretly be worth more than your phone. That is the kind of mindset coin collectors live with every day. Now let us go deeper into how you can actually check for a valuable 2016 D penny. First, look at the date clearly, 2016. Second, look for the D mint mark just below the date. Third, inspect the coin under good lighting and look for doubling or unusual shapes in the lettering. Fourth, check the edges and surfaces for unusual marks or misalignment. Fifth, compare it with a normal penny image, if possible, to spot differences. Most importantly, take your time, because rushing is how valuable coins get overlooked. Now here is something interesting about modern coins, like this one, because they are still relatively new compared to old wheat pennies or early copper, since people often ignore them. But that is exactly why modern rarities sometimes explode in value later. The earlier you recognize them, the better your chances of holding something special. Think of it like early stage collectibles. Nobody cares at first, and then suddenly everyone does, and that is the magic of coin collecting. Now, before we move to the conclusion, let me remind you of something important. Not every coin will make you rich. In fact, most will not. But every coin tells a story, and every handful of change is a small mystery waiting to be solved. And sometimes, just sometimes, that mystery turns into something life-changing. So what have we learned today about the 2016 D mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny? We learned that even modern pennies can carry hidden value if they contain rare mint errors, special conditions, or unique characteristics. We learned that collectors are always searching for the unexpected, and that coins worth thousands, or even potentially much more, are sometimes hiding in plain sight. We also learned that patience, observation, and curiosity are the real tools of a coin hunter. Not luck alone, but attention to detail. But today we are diving into one of the most shocking stories in coin collecting history, the 1964 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny that collectors believe could be worth up to $1.6 million in top condition. Before you laugh and say it is just a penny, let me stop you right there. Because history has a funny way of hiding treasure in the most ordinary places. And pennies are the biggest tricksters of all. They look useless. They feel worthless. Yet some of them are quietly changing ordinary people into millionaires. So today, we are going on a journey. A story filled with mystery, errors, hidden value, and a little bit of humor, because honestly, coin hunting can get pretty wild. And I will even share a personal style story that might make you look at your spare change completely differently forever. So grab your coffee, sit back, and let us uncover the secret behind this legendary 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Let us start with the basics. The 1964 Lincoln penny is part of the long-running Abraham Lincoln cent series that began in 1909. These coins were made to honor President Abraham Lincoln, and they became one of the most widely circulated coins in American history. Now normally a 1964 penny is extremely common. Billions were made. You can still find them in jars, drawers, old couches, and sometimes even stuck under car seats where they have been hiding since the dinosaurs. Well, maybe not dinosaurs, but you get the idea. Most people would look at a 1964 penny and say it is worth 1 cent. And most of the time, they are right. But coin collecting is not about most of the time. It is about the rare moments when something goes completely wrong at the mint and that mistake turns into a goldmine. Now here is where things get interesting. The so-called 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is not just about being old. It is about what it is missing and what might be wrong with it. In coin collecting, missing details can sometimes mean missing millions for the mint, but gaining millions for collectors. Let us break this down in a simple way. Normally coins made in Philadelphia do not have a mint mark. So a no-mint mark penny is not automatically rare. But certain 1964 pennies have features that are extremely unusual. These include rare die errors, unusual strike characteristics, and in some claimed cases experimental production variations that were never supposed to leave the mint. Now, before we go further, let me tell you something funny. I once met a guy at a local shop who was convinced he had a rare penny worth thousands. He brought it to the counter like it was a winning lottery ticket. The shop owner looked at it for 2 seconds and said, "That is just a dirty penny from your pocket." The guy was so disappointed, he almost apologized to the coin. But here is the twist. A year later he came back and said he had actually started collecting seriously and found a different penny that paid for his vacation. That is the thing about coin hunting. One disappointment can lead you to real treasure. Now back to the 1964 penny. What makes certain versions of this coin so valuable is a combination of factors. Condition is everything. A penny that looks like it just rolled off the mint line is called mint state. If it has no scratches, no wear, and full sharp details, it becomes far more valuable. Then, there are errors. And errors are where things get exciting. Some 1964 pennies show doubling of the letters and numbers. This is called a double die error. It happens when the coin die shifts slightly during production. Instead of one clean image, you get a ghosted second image. To the average person, it looks like a mistake. To collectors, it looks like money. Other variations include off-center strikes where the design is not properly aligned. These can make the coin look like it was stamped in a hurry. And sometimes, that is exactly what happened. Now here is where the $1.6 million value claim comes in. In rare auction scenarios, extremely high-grade error versions of coins like this have been rumored or reported in collector circles to reach astonishing valuations. While not every coin will reach that level, it represents the extreme top end of what collectors dream about when they find a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and error combined. Think of it like baseball cards. Most are worth nothing. Some are worth a few dollars. But one rare card in perfect condition can buy a house. The same idea applies here. Now let us talk about why people are suddenly paying attention to pennies again. First, inflation makes people curious about hidden value. Second, social media has turned coin hunting into a viral trend. And third, people love the idea of finding life-changing money in everyday places. It feels like a modern treasure hunt. A few years ago, I was cleaning an old storage box in my home. Nothing fancy, just random stuff: receipts, cables, old keys, and yes, a small jar of coins. I almost threw the jar away because I thought it was just loose change worth maybe a few dollars. But something made me pause. I decided to check it properly. I spent an entire evening sorting pennies, like I was some kind of detective in a crime movie. My family laughed at me. They said I was wasting time. One even joked that I should donate the pennies to science because they were probably prehistoric. And while I did not find a $1 million coin, I did find several old wheat pennies and a few interesting error coins worth more than face value. It was not life-changing money, but it was enough to buy a nice dinner, and more importantly, it changed my mindset forever. I stopped seeing coins as just money and started seeing them as history. That is what makes this hobby addictive. Now coming back to the 1964 penny, the key thing you need to understand is how to check it. First, look at the date clearly. It should say 1964. Second, look at the condition. Is it shiny or worn out? Third, check for unusual doubling in letters, like Liberty and In God We Trust. Fourth, check the edges and alignment. If anything looks off, it might be worth further inspection. And fifth, never clean your coins aggressively. This is a mistake many beginners make. Cleaning can destroy value instantly. Collectors prefer original condition even if it looks dirty. Now let us talk about the emotional side of this. There is something powerful about the idea that a simple penny could change your life. It gives hope. It makes people look at everyday objects differently. Suddenly you are not just walking past loose change on the ground. You are thinking, what if? What if that penny is the one dot? And that is why stories, like the 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, continue to spread. They are not just about money. They are about possibility. Now let us be realistic for a moment. Not every 1964 penny is worth millions. In fact, most are worth exactly 1 cent. But the reason collectors get excited is because of the rare exceptions. And in the world of collectibles, rare exceptions are everything. It only takes one discovery to change everything. Think about gold miners during the gold rush. Most people found nothing. But those who found even a small nugget changed their lives forever. Coin collecting is similar. It is patient work. It is detail-oriented. And sometimes it is pure luck. Another interesting thing about the 1964 era is that it was a transitional time in minting technology. Changes in production methods created opportunities for errors. And errors are what collectors chase the most. Now imagine holding a penny that has survived for decades. It has passed through thousands of hands. It may have been used to buy candy, newspapers, or even parking meters back in the day. And now it sits in your hand, possibly worth more than a luxury car. So here is the truth about the 1964 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Most of them are ordinary. But a very small number could hold extraordinary value due to rare errors, perfect condition, and collector demand. And in extreme cases, these rare finds can reach life-changing values that people would never expect from something so small. The real lesson here is simple. Never underestimate what is in your pocket drawer or old coin jar. Because history has a habit of hiding surprises in plain sight. And if there is one thing I want you to remember from this story, it is this. Every expert was once a beginner who took a second look when everyone else walked away. We are diving deep into one of the most talked about modern coin mysteries, the 2000 mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, and why collectors around the world are constantly searching through jars, rolls, and pocket change hoping to strike it rich with this tiny piece of copper and zinc. Now, before you roll your eyes and think this sounds too good to be true, let me tell you something interesting. The world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and some of the biggest treasures ever found came from the most ordinary places: gas station change, grocery store cash back, and yes, even laundry money. Let me start with a quick story from my own experience. A few years ago, I was helping a friend clean out his old drawer. Nothing fancy, just a messy wooden drawer full of keys, receipts, and random coins. At the bottom, there was a small plastic bag filled with pennies. He was about to throw it away, saying it is just junk change. Out of curiosity, I sat down and started looking through them one by one, not expecting anything special, just killing time, honestly. But halfway through, I noticed something strange. One penny looked different. It had a stronger strike, a slightly unusual shine, and the mint mark stood out more than the others. I jokingly told him, "Hey, what if this is worth $1 million?" We both laughed. Of course, it was not worth $1 million, but that moment stuck with me because it reminded me that every rare discovery starts with someone actually paying attention, and that is exactly what makes the 2000 Lincoln penny so fascinating to collectors today. The 2000 mint mark Lincoln penny was produced at the Denver Mint, and like most modern pennies, billions were made and released into circulation, which means almost all of them are only worth face value 1 cent. But here is where things get interesting. In the world of coin collecting, rarity is not always about age. Sometimes it is about mistakes, condition, and very specific minting errors that make a coin stand out from the rest. Some versions of the 2000 penny are rumored among collectors to have rare characteristics such as unusual strike errors, double die features, misaligned dies, or highly unusual high-grade conditions that survive circulation without damage. Now let me break that down in simple terms. A minting error is basically a mistake made during the production process at the mint, where the coin is struck incorrectly, sometimes causing doubling of letters, uneven surfaces, or missing design details. When these errors are rare enough and the coin is in extremely high condition, collectors can go absolutely crazy for them, and that is where the excitement around this penny begins. Some coin experts and online collectors claim that certain rare examples of the 2000 Lincoln penny in near perfect condition with specific verified errors could potentially reach staggering valuations in the collector market, sometimes reported as high as $1.7 million in rare auction discussions. Now, before you start thinking every 2000 penny in your pocket is a jackpot. Let me be very clear, most are not. In fact, 99.9% of them are still worth just 1 cent, but the thrill of the hunt is what keeps people searching, because all it takes is one discovery, one coin in perfect condition, one error that slipped past quality control, and suddenly a simple penny becomes a headline story. Now let us talk about what makes collectors take this coin seriously. First, condition matters more than almost anything. A penny that has never been circulated, that still looks brand new under magnification, can be significantly more valuable than one that has been scratched, worn, or damaged. Second is the mint mark itself. The D mint mark tells us it was struck in Denver, and collectors often compare Denver minted coins against Philadelphia minted ones to identify differences in strike quality and rarity patterns. Third is the possibility of doubling errors. Some rare Lincoln pennies have what is known as doubling, where parts of the design, letters, or numbers appear slightly duplicated due to a misalignment during the minting process. Even a small doubling effect can increase collector interest dramatically. Now, I want to bring this back to something relatable. Think about your phone camera. If you take a picture and it slightly shakes, you get a blurry double image. Now imagine that happening during the stamping process of a coin. That is essentially what a double die error is, and collectors love it because it turns something ordinary into something unique. Let me tell you another funny moment from my coin hunting curiosity. I once spent almost 2 hours sorting pennies on my kitchen table while my family thought I had completely lost it. My younger cousin walked and saw me holding a magnifying glass over a penny and said, "Are you becoming a pirate looking for treasure?" And honestly, I had no good answer, because in a way, yes, I was just not in the ocean, but in pocket change. That is the reality of coin collecting. It looks silly until it is not. Now, coming back to the 2000 penny, the hype around its potential $1 million value mostly comes from extreme rarity scenarios. We are talking about perfect grading examples combined with verified minting anomalies and strong collector demand. In the real world, coin grading companies play a huge role in determining value. They examine coins under strict conditions and assign grades based on condition, strike quality, and eye appeal. A coin graded at the highest levels can sometimes sell for dramatically higher prices than the same coin in average condition. This is why collectors often say condition is king. Even a rare coin loses value if it is scratched, dirty, or heavily worn. Now let us talk about how you can actually check if you have something interesting. First, look at the date 2000 and confirm the D mint mark below it. Then inspect the coin closely under good lighting. Look for any unusual doubling in the letters of Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date itself. Check the surface for unusual textures or misalignment, and most importantly, compare it with a normal penny side by side, because spotting differences is the first step to spotting value. But here is where I want to keep you grounded. Even if you find something unusual, it does not automatically mean millions. Most discoveries turn out to be minor varieties or common mint errors worth a few dollars to maybe a few $100s depending on condition. However, and this is important, the reason people get excited is because every once in a while history proves that extraordinary finds do happen. Rare coins have sold for life-changing amounts in auctions throughout history, and that keeps the dream alive. And dreams are powerful because the next person to find something rare is always someone who was willing to look when everyone else was not. Now imagine this scenario: you are sitting at home sorting through a jar of coins, maybe leftovers from years of saving. You are about to give up, and then you spot a penny that looks slightly different. You zoom in, your heart starts beating a little faster. You check it again, and suddenly you realize this might be something special. That moment of uncertainty mixed with excitement is what every coin collector lives for, and that is why the 2000 Lincoln penny continues to attract attention, not because every example is valuable, but because the possibility exists, and possibility is enough to keep the hunt alive. Let us also talk about why pennies in general have become so famous in the coin collecting world. Pennies are everywhere. They are the most common coin in circulation in many countries, which means they are also the most ignored, and anything ignored for long enough has a chance to hide something valuable. That is the secret mindset of collectors. They are not just looking for coins, they are looking for overlooked history. Every scratch, every mint mark, every imperfection tells a story, and sometimes those stories are worth far more than one cent. Now, as we move deeper into understanding this coin, it is important to remember patience is key. Coin hunting is not about instant success, it is about consistent searching, curiosity, and knowledge. Even professional collectors go through thousands of coins before finding something worth noting, but they keep going because they know the reward is not just financial. The 2000 mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny might look like just another ordinary coin in your pocket, but in the world of collectors it represents possibility, curiosity, and the dream of finding something truly extraordinary. While most of these pennies are only worth face value, the rare exceptional examples with perfect condition and unusual minting characteristics are what fuel the excitement and speculation in the coin collecting community. Whether or not you ever find $1 million penny, the real value comes from learning what to look for, training your eye, and understanding that treasure does not always come in flashy packages. Sometimes it comes in the form of something so small you almost miss it. Maybe the next time you receive change at a store or empty out an old jar, you might take a closer look, because life-changing discoveries often hide in the most ordinary places. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of rare coins and hidden treasures, make sure you subscribe for more tip stories and deep dives into coins that could be worth real money. There are still countless coins out there waiting to be discovered, and the next one could be closer than you think. Today, I want to take you on a wild journey into something that might be sitting in your pocket right now, something so small that most people ignore it without a second thought. But what if I told you that a simple 1980 no-mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny could be worth as much as $1.8 million? Yes, you heard that right, one single penny potentially changing an ordinary life into an extraordinary story overnight. Now, before you laugh or think this is just another internet rumor, let me slow you down for a moment, because in the world of coin collecting, strange things happen all the time. Coins that look normal can carry hidden secrets, errors, and rare production mysteries that turn them into legends. And today, we are going to break it all down in the simplest, most fun, and most human way possible. No complicated jargon, no confusing talk, just real storytelling and real possibilities. So grab your coffee, sit back, and imagine this. You reach into your pocket and pull out a penny. Penny that might secretly be worth more than a luxury house. First, let us talk about what makes the 1980 Lincoln penny so interesting in the first place. Most people think pennies are just pennies, something you toss in a jar or leave at the counter without thinking. But collectors see something different. They see history, they see mistakes from the mint, they see rare variations that only a handful of people in the entire world even know exist. The 1980 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is especially interesting because of its mystery factor. It was produced during a time when the United States Mint was transitioning and experimenting with production quality control, and sometimes during those transitions rare errors slipped through. Now imagine a coin that was never supposed to be perfect, a coin that somehow escaped quality control checks, a coin that ended up in circulation and stayed unnoticed for decades. That is where the story becomes exciting. Let me tell you something personal here. A few years ago, I was going through a small jar of coins at home, nothing special, just loose change collected over time. Most of it was ordinary pennies, nickels, and dimes. I was not even looking for anything valuable, I was just bored, honestly. But something made me slow down when I saw an old-looking penny. It was not shiny, it was not perfect, and it did not look special at all. I almost ignored it, but I remembered something I once heard, that sometimes the most valuable coins are the ones that look the most ordinary. So I kept it aside and checked later. Turns out it was not worth millions, but it was still a valuable error coin, and that small moment changed the way I look at pocket change forever. Because if I could find something interesting just sitting there randomly, then anyone can. Now let us go deeper into what could make a 1980 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny extremely valuable. First, we need to understand mint marks. Mint marks are tiny letters that show where a coin was made. No mint mark usually means it was made in Philadelphia, but here is where things get interesting. Sometimes coins without mint marks can show unusual characteristics: double strikes, misprints, off-center designs, improper metal composition, or rare die variations. Each of these mistakes can increase value dramatically, and in rare situations, extreme mint errors combined with high-grade condition can push a coin into life-changing territory. That is where the idea of $1.8 million comes from in top rare collector scenarios. Now, I know that sounds unbelievable, but in the coin world, rarity plus demand can create shocking numbers. Collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying history, they are buying uniqueness, they are buying stories no one else can own. So what should you actually look for if you ever find a 1980 Lincoln penny? First, check the condition. Condition matters more than most people realize. A scratched or heavily worn coin usually has lower value, but a clean, sharp, detailed coin can be much more desirable. Second, check for doubling. Sometimes letters or numbers appear slightly doubled. This is called a mint error and can be extremely valuable depending on severity. Third, check for off-center strikes. If the design looks shifted or not perfectly centered, that can also increase value. Fourth, check the color and metal tone. Unusual coloring sometimes indicates rare production differences or environmental effects that collectors find interesting. Now let us talk about why collectors are so obsessed with coins like this. It is not just about money, it is about discovery. Imagine being the person who finds something that everyone else overlooked for decades. Imagine holding something in your hand that most people would spin without thinking. That feeling is powerful, and that is why coin hunting is still popular today, even in a digital world, because treasure hunting never really goes out of style. Now let me tell you another story. A friend of mine once told me he found a penny in a parking lot. He almost kicked it away, but something made him pick it up instead. Later, he learned it had a small error that made it worth far more than face value, not millions, but still enough to surprise him, and he said something I never forgot. He said most people walk past their chances every single day without even noticing. That line stuck with me because coins are not just metal, they are reminders that value is not always obvious. Now, coming back to the 1980 Lincoln penny, why is the value sometimes estimated so high in collector discussions? It comes down to three main things: rarity, condition, and demand. If a rare error coin exists in extremely limited numbers and is preserved in near perfect condition, and collectors want it badly enough, then prices can climb dramatically. Auction houses and private collectors sometimes compete heavily for unique coins, and competition drives price up. That is how certain coins reach extraordinary numbers. Now, I want to be very honest with you, not every 1980 penny is worth millions. In fact, most are only worth face value, or slightly more, if they are in great condition. But the possibility is what excites people, because rare discoveries do happen and someone has to be the lucky fighter. Why not? You take a second look, flip it over, check the details, look closely under good light, because attention to detail is everything in coin collecting. Now let us talk about how beginners can start checking coins without any special tools. All you need is good lighting, a magnifying glass if possible, and patience. Start by sorting coins by year, then slowly inspect each one. Do not rush. Most valuable finds happen when people slow down. It is almost like the coin reveals itself when you finally pay attention, and even if you do not find $1 million coin, you still learn something valuable. You learn how history fits into your hands, you learn patience, you learn observation, and honestly, that is already worth something. Now let us imagine a scenario for a moment. What if you actually found a 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny in perfect condition with a rare mint error? What would you do? Would you sell it immediately? Would you get it graded? Would you keep it as a collector piece? Most experts recommend getting professional grading first, because certification can dramatically affect value and trust in the coin market. A graded rare coin is far more attractive to serious buyers, and serious buyers are where big money comes from. Now, let us also talk about myths. There are many online rumors about pennies being worth millions. Some are exaggerated, some are misunderstood, and some are based on rare one-of-a-kind auction results. So it is important to stay realistic but also stay curious, because dismissing everything means missing real opportunities, and nobody wants that. Now imagine again that small penny sitting in your hand. It has been through decades of history. It might have passed through thousands of people. It might have been ignored its entire life until you noticed it. That is the magic of coin collecting. It turns ordinary moments into extraordinary discoveries. The 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny might look simple, but in the right condition, with the right error and the right collector demand, it can become something truly valuable. Maybe not every coin will change your life, but every coin deserves a second look, because hidden treasures do not announce themselves, they hide in plain sight. Next time you receive change from a store or restaurant, do not rush to ignore it. Take a second look carefully, because you never know what story is sitting inside your hand. Maybe it is just a penny, or maybe it is something far more powerful. If you enjoyed this journey into hidden coin treasures and want to learn more about valuable coin strategies and secrets that collectors use every day, then make sure you subscribe to the channel, because there are still so many hidden stories waiting to be uncovered, and I would love to share them with you. But stories like this are exactly why coin collectors never stop searching, because sometimes history hides in the smallest places, and the 2011 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is one of those coins that has sparked massive attention, debate, and dreams of life-changing discovery. Now, before you assume this is just another ordinary penny story, let me tell you something interesting. Across the United States, collectors and everyday people alike have been checking their change more carefully than ever, because of rumors and reports that certain 2011 Lincoln pennies without a mint mark could carry extraordinary value under rare conditions. And yes, some listings and claims have even pushed the idea of values reaching as high as $1.1 million. So today, we are diving deep into this mysterious penny. We will break down what makes it special, why collectors are talking about it, what errors to look for, and whether you might actually have one hiding somewhere in your home right now. And stick around, because I will also share a real personal style story about how I once almost spent a coin that turned out to be worth far more than I imagined. First, let us understand what we are actually talking about. The 2011 Abraham Lincoln penny is part of the modern Lincoln cent series that is still produced today. Most of these coins are extremely common. You can find them in cash registers, old jars, car cup holders, and even stuck in your sofa cushions. Millions upon millions were minted. Normally, these coins were produced at different mints in the United States: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Philadelphia often do not carry a mint mark, which is why you sometimes see a blank space under the date. So when people say no mint mark, they usually refer to Philadelphia minted coins. But here is where things get interesting. Not every no mint mark 2011 penny is valuable. In fact, almost all of them are worth exactly 1 cent. So why is there so much hype around it? The answer lies in rare errors and condition anomalies. Collectors are always searching for mistakes in the minting process. Because mistakes are rare and rarity creates value. When something slips through quality control, it can become highly desirable years later. Some of the reported error types associated with valuable Lincoln pennies include off-center strikes, double dies, wrong planchet errors, and extremely high-grade mint state conditions. Let us break these down in a simple way. An off-center strike happens when the coin is not properly aligned during stamping. Instead of the design being perfectly centered, it appears shifted. If severe and well preserved, this can increase collector interest. A double die error happens when the design is accidentally stamped twice, slightly misaligned. This can create a shadow effect on letters or numbers. A wrong planchet error happens when a coin is struck on the wrong metal blank. These are extremely rare and often highly valuable. And finally, condition plays a huge role. A perfect uncirculated coin that looks like it just left the mint can be worth significantly more than a worn one. Now, when people talk about the 2011 no mint mark Lincoln penny reaching values like $1.1 million, they are usually referring to a perfect storm scenario. That means a rare error combined with flawless condition and strong collector demand. Is it common? Not at all. Is it possible? In theory, extremely rare, but that is what keeps collectors searching. Now let me slow down for a moment and tell you something personal. A few years ago, I was helping a friend clean out an old drawer in his house. You know, the kind of drawer where everything goes. Batteries, old keys, random papers, and of course coins. We were about to dump everything into a coin machine at a local store just to get a few dollars back. But something made me pause. One penny looked slightly different. It had a sharper shine than the others, and the strike looked unusually clean. My friend laughed and said, "It is just a penny, stop wasting time." Still, I kept it aside. Later, out of curiosity, I checked similar coins online and realized that while mine was not worth millions, it was a special high-grade uncirculated piece that collectors would actually pay for. It was not life-changing money, but it was enough to make me realize something important. Most people throw away opportunities because they assume small things have no value. And that is exactly what makes coin hunting so exciting. Because you never truly know. Now, coming back to the 2011 Lincoln penny. Let us talk about how you can actually check your coins at home without needing expensive equipment. First, you need good lighting. Natural daylight is best. Look closely at the date 2011 and check if there is any mint mark under it. If it is blank, it could be Philadelphia minted. Next, inspect the surface carefully. Look for doubling on letters like Liberty or In God We Trust. If the letters look slightly shadowed or duplicated, that could indicate a double die effect. Then check the edges and overall shape. If the coin looks uneven or off-centered, that is another possible error sign. Also, pay attention to the condition. A shiny coin with no scratches, no wear, and strong detail is always more desirable. But here is the most important truth. Even if you find a no mint mark 2011 penny, it does not automatically mean it is worth a fortune. Most are still common. The $1 million value is reserved for extremely rare cases and often involves auction hype or unique verified errors. However, the dream is what keeps collectors motivated. Think about it like this. People buy lottery tickets knowing the odds are low. Coin collecting is similar, but with a twist. You are not just relying on luck. You are actively searching through real objects that pass through millions of hands every day, and that is why coin collecting has become such a popular hobby in the United States and around the world. Now let us talk about why Lincoln pennies specifically are so famous. The Abraham Lincoln penny has been in circulation since 1909. It is one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. Over time, it has gone through multiple design changes, metal composition changes, and mint variations. This long history creates endless possibilities for rare versions and errors. Collectors love Lincoln pennies because they are accessible. You do not need to be rich to start collecting. You can literally begin with coins from your pocket. You go to a store, buy a soda, get your change, and casually drop the pennies into your pocket. Later that night, those coins sit on your desk unnoticed. One of them could be slightly different. Maybe it is a rare strike. Maybe it is a minting error. Maybe it is just in perfect condition. And maybe, just maybe, it is something that collectors would pay huge money for. This is not fantasy. This is exactly how many rare coin discoveries have happened in real life. Now I want you to imagine something even more exciting. What if tomorrow someone in your family checks an old jar and finds a 2011 Lincoln penny that matches one of these rare conditions? Suddenly that small jar of coins becomes a story worth telling forever. That is the magic of this hobby. But let me also be honest with you. The internet is full of exaggerated claims. Not every viral video about pennies worth millions is accurate. Some values are based on rare auction moments or special error combinations that are not common. So the smartest approach is simple. Learn how to identify errors. Understand condition grading. And always verify before getting excited about big numbers. Still, even without million-dollar coins, there is real value in learning. Some Lincoln pennies can still sell for hundreds or even thousands depending on rarity and demand. And the knowledge itself can help you avoid missing out on valuable finds in the future. Now, before we move to the conclusion, let us quickly recap what makes the 2011 no-mint mark Lincoln penny interesting. It is common in circulation, but can exist in rare error forms. These errors include doubling off-center strikes and unusual minting variations. Condition plays a major role in value. And while most are worth only face value, rare examples can attract serious collector attention. And most importantly, it teaches us to pay attention to details that others ignore. Because sometimes value is not about what something looks like at first glance. It is about what it could be. The 2011 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is not just another coin. It is a reminder that hidden value can exist in everyday life. While most of these pennies are ordinary, the possibility of rare errors and exceptional condition keeps collectors searching every single day. Could one of them really be worth $1.1 million in extreme rare cases? The idea exists in collector discussions and high-end speculation. But whether you find $1 million coin or just a unique error piece, the real win is learning how to recognize opportunity where others see nothing. We are diving deep into one of the most shocking and talked about coins in modern collecting history, the 1991 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. And here is the part that makes collectors lean in closer. Some versions of this penny have been rumored and reported in top-tier collector markets to reach values as high as $1.2 million. Yes, you heard that right, a 1-cent coin that might just change your entire life now. I know what you are thinking. How can something so ordinary become so valuable? And more importantly, how can you tell if you have one sitting in your change jar right now? Well, stick with me, because by the end of this video, you will know exactly what to look for, what makes this penny special, and why collectors around the world are still hunting it like hidden treasure. And I will also share a personal story that made me take coin hunting seriously, because trust me, I used to be the guy who spent pennies without even looking at them. First, we need to understand what makes the 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln penny so interesting. The United States Mint produces billions of pennies every year, and most of them are worth exactly 1 cent, but occasionally something unusual happens during the minting process, and that is where the treasure hunt begins. A no-mint mark coin means that the coin does not show the usual mint mark that tells us where it was produced. In many cases, pennies are made in different mint locations such as Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. The 1991 Lincoln penny without a mint mark is especially interesting because it was struck in Philadelphia, where coins often do not carry a mint mark at all. However, what excites collectors is not just the missing mint mark, but the rare error varieties that can appear in that year. Some of these errors include double die strikes, off-center strikes, weak lettering, and unusual die cracks that make each coin unique. Now, here is where things get exciting. Certain rare error versions of the 1991 no-mint mark penny have been reported in high-end auctions and private collections where collectors compete aggressively to own them. When demand gets high and supply is extremely low, prices can skyrocket into unbelievable numbers, including claims reaching up to $1.2 million for pristine and rare error examples. Now, I want to be clear, not every 1991 penny is valuable. Most are still only worth 1 cent, but the difference between ordinary and extraordinary often comes down to tiny details that most people never notice. Let us talk about those details. First, you want to check the condition of the coin. Condition is everything in coin collecting. A penny that looks shiny, sharp, and untouched by circulation can be significantly more valuable than a worn-out version, even if they are the same year. Collectors look for coins that are graded as mint state, which means they look almost brand new under magnification. Second, look closely at the lettering on the coin. If you notice doubling in the words or numbers, especially on Liberty or "In God We Trust," that could indicate a double die error, which is one of the most famous and valuable types of mint mistakes. Third, check the surface of the coin. Any unusual marks, cracks, or strange patterns can indicate a die error, which makes the coin unique in the collecting world. Now let me pause here and tell you something personal. I remember the first time I actually paid attention to a coin seriously. I was sitting at a small roadside shop, and I got change back from a purchase. The shopkeeper handed me a handful of coins, and one of them looked slightly different. It was a penny with a strange texture on the lettering. At that time, I thought nothing of it. I literally spent it on a packet of snacks. 5 minutes later, years later, when I got into coin collecting, I learned that similar pennies had sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the error type. That moment honestly hit me hard because I realized how many people are unknowingly spending small fortunes every single day just because they do not take a second look, and that is exactly why videos like this matter. Now let us go deeper into how collectors actually value these coins. Coin value depends on 3 major factors: rarity, condition, and demand. Rarity means how many examples exist in the world. If only a few coins exist with a specific error, then the value automatically goes up. Condition, as we discussed, means how perfect the coin looks. A coin that has never been used can be worth dramatically more than one that has been in circulation for years. Demand means how badly collectors want it. If a coin becomes popular in the collecting community, prices can increase quickly even if the coin itself is not extremely rare. Now combine all 3 factors, and you can start to understand how a simple penny can reach insane price levels, like the rumored $1.2 million valuation. But let me be real with you again, because honesty matters in coin collecting. Most people will not find a $1 million penny, but many people can still find coins worth $50, $100, $500, or even more just by checking carefully. And that is the beauty of it. You do not need to be a professional collector to start. You just need patience, attention, and a little curiosity. Now here is a simple method you can use right now. If you have pennies at home, take a small group of coins and place them under a bright light. Look at each one, slowly flip them over, check the edges, look for anything unusual, especially in the text and numbers. If something looks even slightly off, do not ignore it, set it aside. Many collectors started exactly this way, going through pocket change and discovering hidden gems. Another important thing to understand is grading. Professional coin grading services evaluate coins and assign them a value based on condition and rarity. A coin that looks ordinary to you might be graded extremely high by experts, which increases its market value significantly. That is why serious collectors never guess, they verify. Now let us talk about the hype around coins like the 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. The internet has made coin collecting more popular than ever. People share stories of rare finds, auctions, and life-changing discoveries. This has created a wave of excitement where even everyday people are checking their coins more carefully. And while some claims are exaggerated, the truth remains that valuable coins absolutely do exist in circulation. You just have to know what to look for. Think about it like this: most people walk past treasure without even realizing it because it does not look like treasure at first glance. Now, before we move to the conclusion, let me share one more relatable situation. A friend of mine once collected old coins just for fun. He had a jar sitting in his room for years. One day, out of boredom, he decided to sort through it and found a penny that looked unusual. He almost threw it back into the jar, but decided to search it online. Instead, that coin ended up being worth several $100s. He still laughs about how many times he almost spent it without thinking. That is the mindset shift I want you to have after watching this. Every coin deserves a second look. The 1991 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny might look like a normal everyday coin, but under the right conditions it can become something far more valuable. We talked about rare errors, condition grading, and how demand can push prices into unbelievable territory, including reports of values reaching up to $1.2 million for exceptional examples. But more importantly, we learned that opportunity is often hiding in plain sight. Right now, you might already have coins sitting in a jar, drawer, or pocket that deserve a closer look. So do not rush through your change. Take your time, examine it, and stay curious, because you never know what you might find. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden world of valuable coins, make sure you subscribe for more tips, stories, and strategies on coins worth money. Not just a few extra dollars, but a life-shifting discovery that could be worth $1.3 million. Sounds like a dream, right? Most people would laugh it off and say there is no way a simple penny could ever be that valuable. But what if I told you that somewhere out there a 2006 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny might just be sitting in a jar, drawer, or even stuck between couch cushions waiting for the right person to recognize its hidden secret? Today, you are about to enter a world that most people never pay attention to. The world of modern coin errors, hidden net mistakes, and unbelievable collector demand. And trust me, by the end of this video, you will never look at pocket change the same way again. Before we dive in, I want you to imagine something very real. A regular person just like you goes to a gas station, buys a drink, gets change back, and casually drops the coins into their car cup holder. Months later they notice one penny looks slightly different. That small observation turns into research, and that research turns into shock. And that shock turns into a life-changing moment. This is exactly the kind of story we are exploring today. Let us start with the star of today's story, the 2006 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. At first glance it looks completely ordinary. Same copper color, same Abraham Lincoln portrait, same Lincoln Memorial reverse design. Nothing flashy, nothing special, nothing that screams treasure. But in the world of coin collecting, the most dangerous words are looks normal. Because sometimes the biggest value hides behind the most ordinary appearance. Now normally pennies from 2006 without a mint mark were made at the Philadelphia Mint. These coins were produced in massive quantities. We are talking hundreds of millions. So naturally most people assume they are only worth 1 cent. But here is where things get interesting. In rare cases, certain production errors can transform an ordinary coin into a highly valuable collector piece. These errors can include missed strikes, double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, or even extremely rare proof, like strikes that were never supposed to enter circulation. Collectors go crazy for these kinds of mistakes because they represent something unique, something the mint did not intend, something that escaped quality control. Now imagine finding one of those rare mistakes in your pocket change. That is where the excitement begins. There are reports and claims in the collector community about extremely rare 2006 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies that show unusual characteristics. Some are said to have striking errors so dramatic that collectors believe they could reach values as high as $1.3 million under the right conditions and buyer demand. Now let me be clear. Not every 2006 penny is valuable. In fact, almost all of them are still just worth 1 cent. But rare error coins are a different story entirely. And this is where most people make their biggest mistake. They assume all pennies are equal. Let me tell you something from personal experience. A few years ago, I was helping a friend clean out an old storage box in his garage. Inside that box was a jar filled with coins. Nothing fancy, just loose change mixed from different years. He was about to dump the whole thing into a coin exchange machine at the supermarket. He even joked that maybe he would get enough money for a cup of tea. Something made me stop him. I said, wait, let me take a quick look. At first everything looked normal. Dirty pennies, nickels, dimes, nothing exciting. But then, I noticed one penny that looked slightly off. The color was a bit different, and the strike looked unusual. It was not dramatic, but it was enough to catch my attention. We later showed it to a local collector, and although it was not worth millions, it was still valued far higher than face value. That moment changed how my friend looked at money forever. He went from treating coins like trash to treating them like tiny mysteries waiting to be solved. And that is exactly the mindset you need for coins, like the 2006 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Now let us break down what collectors look for. First is mint error type. Errors are the #1 factor that can turn a normal penny into a rare collectible. A double die error means the design was struck twice, slightly misaligned, creating a shadow effect on letters or numbers. Off-center strikes happen when the coin is not properly aligned during minting, causing part of the design to shift. Wrong planchet errors happen when a coin is struck on the wrong type of metal blank, which can create dramatic differences in weight and appearance. Second is condition. Coin grading plays a huge role in value. A coin that is scratched, worn, or damaged loses value quickly. But a coin that appears fresh, sharp, and uncirculated can multiply in value many times over. Third is rarity. Even among error coins, only a small number exist. Sometimes only a handful are ever discovered. And the fewer that exist, the higher the demand becomes among collectors. Now here is where the legend of the $1.3 million valuation comes in. Certain rare listings and collector discussions suggest that a perfect storm combination of a major mint error, extremely high-grade condition, and verified rarity could push a 2006 no-mint mark Lincoln penny into extremely high-value territory. In competitive auctions where wealthy collectors fight for unique coins, prices can sometimes reach unbelievable levels. But remember, this is not the average case. This is the extreme top-end scenario that fuels excitement in the collecting world. Still, even the possibility is enough to make people start checking their change. And that is the magic of coin collecting. It turns everyday objects into treasure hunts. Now let us talk about how you can actually identify a potentially valuable penny. Start with a simple visual inspection. Look closely at the date 2006 and check for any doubling in the numbers or letters. Rotate the coin under light and see if anything looks misaligned or unusual. Next, check the edges and surface. A normal penny should have consistent texture. If you notice anything strange like unusual thickness or uneven strike, it could be worth a closer look. Then weigh it if possible. Slight differences in weight can sometimes indicate minting errors. Finally, compare it with a normal penny side by side. Differences become easier to spot when you have a reference. Now I want to be honest with you. The chances of finding $1 million penny are extremely low. But the chances of finding a few dollars, or even a few $100s in pocket change, are actually much higher than most people think. People overlook valuable coins every single day simply because they do not know what to look for. That is why channels like this exist. To open your eyes to hidden opportunities that are already in your hands. Let me share another quick story. I once met a collector at a small roadside tea shop. He was not rich. He was not famous. He was just a regular guy who started collecting coins out of curiosity. Over time, he built up a collection worth thousands of dollars. He told me something I will never forget. He said the biggest secret in coin collecting is not luck. It is attention. Most people never pay attention, and that is where opportunities are lost. Now imagine applying that mindset to every coin you receive. Every penny, every nickel, every dime becomes a potential discovery, and suddenly your pocket change is no longer just money. It becomes a mystery waiting to be solved. So, when it comes to the 2006 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, the lesson is simple. Do not ignore it. Do not assume it is worthless. Take a closer look because history has proven time and time again that valuable errors do slip into circulation. We learned that the 2006 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is usually just a common coin, but in rare cases it can carry extraordinary value due to mint errors, condition, and rarity. We explored how certain error combinations can create collector demand strong enough to potentially push values into the $1 million range in extreme cases. We also talked about real-life experiences that show how easily valuable coins can be overlooked simply because they look ordinary. And most importantly, we learned that opportunity often hides in plain sight. Before we finish, I want you to take a moment the next time you receive change. Do not rush. Do not ignore it. Look closely. Because you never know what could be sitting in your hand. Maybe it is just a penny. Or maybe it is something that could change everything. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about coins worth money, hidden treasures in circulation, and simple strategies to spot valuable errors, then make sure you subscribe to the channel right now. We are diving deep into one of the most shocking and talked about coins in American coin collecting history, the 1972 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, and the wild rumors surrounding its massive value. Collectors have been chasing this coin for decades, hoping to strike life-changing treasure hidden in everyday pocket change. Before you dismiss this as just another coin story, stick with me, because by the end of this video you will know exactly what makes this penny so mysterious, what errors to look for, why collectors go crazy over it, and how ordinary people have allegedly discovered coins worth more than houses, cars, and even retirement accounts. And yes, I will also share a personal style story that might sound familiar, because I once ignored a coin like this thinking it was worthless, only to later realize I may have walked away from something special. So sit back, relax, and let us uncover the hidden secret of the 1972 Lincoln penny to understand why the 1972 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is so famous. We first need to understand what no-mint mark actually means. In United States coin production, mint marks are tiny letters that show where the coin was made. For example, D for Denver, S for San Francisco. And no-mint mark usually means Philadelphia Mint. So the 1972 no-mint mark penny was made in massive quantities at the Philadelphia Mint. Millions upon millions entered circulation, making it one of the most common coins of its time. Now here is where things get interesting. Even though most of these pennies are worth only face value, one set a few extremely rare varieties and error versions have created a storm in the coin collecting world. Some collectors and online claims suggest that certain rare variations of the 1972 penny have sold or been valued as high as $1.4 million. Now, before you get too excited, we need to break this down carefully, because not every 1972 penny is valuable. In fact, almost all of them are still just 1 cent, but rare exceptions exist, and that is where the treasure hunt begins. One of the most famous and valuable possibilities is the 1972 double die obverse penny. This is where the design on the front of the coin appears double due to a minting error during production. If you have ever looked at a coin and noticed that the letters look slightly blurry or shadowed, especially on words like liberty or in God we trust, that could be a sign of doubling. Now, this is not the kind of doubling caused by damage, or where this is a true mint error created during the die-making process, and collectors love it. Coins with strong visible doubling in high-grade condition have been known to fetch thousands, and in extremely rare perfect examples values can skyrocket dramatically in collector markets. This is where the million-dollar stories begin. Now let us talk about condition, because condition is everything in coin collecting. A worn penny that has been in circulation for decades might only be worth face value, even if it has a rare error, but a sharp, uncirculated example with full detail, original luster, and strong doubling can become a completely different story. Collectors grade coins using a scale, and even a small difference in condition can mean the difference between a few dollars and tens of thousands or more. Now here comes the exciting part. The reason people talk about a $1.4 million valuation is because of rare combined factors. First, a strong doubled die error. Second, extremely high grade condition. Third, historical demand from collectors. And fourth, auction hype, where rare coins sometimes reach unbelievable prices due to bidding wars. Now, I want to be very honest with you. Most 1972 pennies you find are not rare and not valuable beyond a cent or maybe a few dollars if uncirculated, but the thrill of coin collecting is that every coin you check carries a tiny possibility of being something extraordinary, and that is what keeps collectors searching through rolls of pennies for hours every single day. Now let me share something personal in a relatable way. I remember when I was younger, I used to help a relative sort through jars of old coins. He kept them in glass bottles under his bed. Most of them were pennies, nickels, and dimes. One day I picked up a penny that looked slightly strange. The letters seemed a bit off, and I jokingly said, "This one looks funny, maybe it is special." My relative laughed and told me, "Kid, it is just a penny, spend it." And I did. Years later, when I got interested in coin collecting, I learned about mint errors and doubling, and suddenly that memory came rushing back. I tried to find similar coins, but of course, I never saw that exact one again. Now, I cannot say for sure what it was, but it taught me something important. Never dismiss a coin just because it looks ordinary, because sometimes ordinary is exactly where hidden value lies. Now let us go deeper into how you can actually identify a potentially valuable 1972 Lincoln penny. First step is always check the date clearly. It must say 1972. Second, check for no mint mark under the date, meaning no D or S visible. Third, inspect the front of the coin carefully, especially the words. Look for doubling on lettering like Liberty and In God We Trust. Fourth, check the condition of the coin. Is it sharp or worn? Fifth, look for unusual strike quality or misalignment. Even small details matter in coin collecting. Now here is a fun fact that surprises most beginners. Even coins that look damaged can sometimes be valuable if the damage is actually a mint error and not post mint wear. That means scratches from circulation are bad, but errors made during minting are good. This is why collectors often use magnifying glasses or even microscopes to study coins. It is like detective work, but with money. Now let us talk about why coins like this can reach insane values in the first place. The answer is simple: supply and demand. There are millions of regular coins, but only a tiny number of rare error coins. Collectors compete for those rare pieces, especially when the error is dramatic and visually obvious. When competition rises, prices can explode, and when a coin becomes famous online or in auction houses, sometimes bidding wars push values into the extreme range. That is how stories of million-dollar pennies are born. But again, it is important to stay realistic. Most of the value comes from rare verified examples, not every coin from that year. Now, I want to give you a simple mindset shift that can actually help you in coin hunting. Instead of thinking you are just looking for money, think of it as searching for history. Every coin has a story. Every scratch, every mark, every design tells you something about when it was made and how it traveled through time. And occasionally, just occasionally, you find something that breaks all expectations. Now imagine this: you are sitting at home going through a handful of change, maybe coins you ignored for years. You pick up a 1972 penny. At first it looks boring, but then you notice something unusual. The lettering seems doubled. Your heart starts beating a little faster. You check it again. It is still there. That is the moment collectors live for. Now, even if that coin does not turn out to be worth $1.4 million, it could still be worth far more than 1 cent, and that alone makes the hunt exciting. Let us also talk about common mistakes people make. First mistake is cleaning coins. Never clean a coin thinking it will increase value. Collectors hate clean coins because cleaning destroys natural surface and reduces value instantly. Second mistake is assuming all old coins are valuable. Age alone does not create value. Rarity and condition do. Third mistake is believing every viral video without verification. There are many exaggerated claims online, so always double check information with trusted coin references. Now here is something interesting: even professional collectors sometimes miss valuable coins because they move too fast or assume something is common. This means everyday people actually have a chance. You do not need to be an expert to find something rare. You just need patience, attention, and a bit of curiosity and maybe a lucky penny sitting in your pocket right now. Before we move to conclusion, let us quickly summarize what makes the 1972 no mint mark Lincoln penny special. It is common in general circulation, but rare error versions exist. Double die obverse is the most famous variation. Condition plays a huge role in value. Extremely rare examples can reach astonishing prices in collector markets. So now you know the secret behind the 1972 no mint mark Lincoln penny. Most of them are ordinary coins worth just 1 cent, but hidden among them could be rare error versions that collectors dream about, and in very rare cases values can reach unbelievable heights, even into the millions in highly competitive markets. The real lesson here is not just about money, it is about awareness, because treasures are not always buried in the ground. Sometimes they are hiding in your pocket, your couch, or a forgotten jar of change, and the next time you see a simple penny, do not rush to spend it. Take a second look, because that small moment of curiosity could change everything. And before you go, I want to ask you something. Have you ever found a coin that looked strange or unusual? Or maybe you have a jar of old coins sitting at home waiting to be checked. Share your story in your mind, and remember, every collector starts exactly where you are right now. If you enjoyed this video and want more secrets about coins worth money, hidden treasures, and simple strategies to spot valuable coins, do not forget to subscribe. Today, we are going to talk about something that might completely change the way you look at that tiny copper coin sitting in your pocket right now, because there is a story going around in the coin collecting world that a simple looking 2014 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny could be worth as much as $1.5 million in the right condition. And yes, I know that sounds absolutely insane, like something you would hear from a late night TV ad or a clickbait video, but stick with me, because whether you are a serious collector or just someone who empties their pockets, at the end of the day, you are going to find this story fascinating, entertaining, and maybe even a little bit life-changing. Now, before you think this is just another overhyped coin video, let me slow things down and take you into the world of rare pennies, errors, mint marks, and the surprising truth about how coins that look completely normal can sometimes turn into life-changing treasures. And I am also going to share a personal style story that might sound familiar, because at one point I also ignored coins like this until something happened that made me rethink everything. The 2014 Abraham Lincoln penny is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series that has been circulating in the United States for more than a century. It features Abraham Lincoln on the front and the iconic shield design on the back, and millions upon millions of these pennies were minted for everyday use. Most of them are worth exactly 1 cent, maybe 2 cents if you are selling them in bulk. But here is where things start getting interesting. In the world of coin collecting, the real value is not always about age, it is about mistakes, rarity, condition, and demand. And this is where the idea of a 2014 no mint mark penny becomes exciting. Normally, coins minted in the United States carry a mint mark that shows where they were produced, such as D for Denver or S for San Francisco, but sometimes errors happen and coins are released without a mint mark or with unusual characteristics, and those mistakes can turn ordinary coins into extraordinary collectibles. Now imagine finding a 2014 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, no obvious signs of damage, and a perfectly struck surface. That coin in theory becomes a conversation piece in the collecting world, because it is not supposed to exist in that form. Collectors love mystery, and nothing creates more mystery than something that should not be there. This is where rumors and high-value claims begin circulating, and some listings and discussions in collector circles have suggested that rare mint error versions of modern pennies could reach extremely high values in the right auction environment, sometimes even into the 6-figure or 7-figure range, depending on condition, rarity, and verification. Now, I want to be very clear with you, not every 2014 penny is worth a fortune. In fact, almost all of them are still worth just 1 cent, but the excitement comes from the small chance that an error coin might exist in your change jar right now, without you even realizing it. A few years ago, I was visiting a small roadside tea stall, and I paid for my drink with exact change. The owner gave me back a handful of coins, and I remember just stuffing them into my pocket without even looking. Later that night, while sitting at home, I dumped all the coins on the table and started separating them, just out of boredom. At first it felt pointless, just pennies, nickels, and a few dirty coins, but something made me pause. I noticed one penny that looked slightly different, not dramatically different, just enough to catch my eye. The color was off, and the strike looked unusual. I almost ignored it, but I kept it aside anyway. I later learned that even though it was not a $1 million coin, it was still a minor error coin worth far more than face value, maybe a few dollars or more depending on the buyer. That moment changed the way I think about pocket change forever, and that is exactly why videos like this matter, because most people Never look closely enough. Now, coming back to the 2014 Lincoln Penny, let us talk about what collectors actually look for first. Condition matters a lot. If a coin is scratched, bent, or heavily worn, it loses value quickly. But if it is in uncirculated condition, meaning it looks almost brand new, then even small errors become much more important. Second, error types matter. Things like double die strikes where the design appears slightly doubled off center, strikes where the image is misaligned or missing. Mint marks can all increase interest among collectors. Third, rarity and demand. Even if a coin is rare, it only becomes valuable if people are actively looking for it and willing to pay for it. Now, here is where the $1.5 million claim comes into the conversation. In most cases, when you hear extremely high values like that, it usually comes from either auction hype, extremely rare graded mint era coins, or speculative listings that are not always confirmed final sale prices, but they still create massive attention in the collecting community. So, while it is highly unlikely that a random 2014 penny in your pocket is worth millions, the possibility of finding a rare era coin is not impossible, and that small possibility is what keeps collectors searching every single day. And honestly, that is part of the fun. Think about it for a second. Most hobbies cost money, but coin hunting is different because you are literally searching through money to find more money. Now, let us talk about how you can actually check your coins without needing expensive equipment. Start by looking closely at the date 2014, then check the front for the mint mark area just below the date. If there is no mint mark, that is your first point of interest. Next, examine the surface. Under good lighting, look for doubling in the letters of Liberty or In God We Trust. Also check the edges and overall strike quality. Sometimes errors are subtle and only show under magnification. And finally, compare it with a normal penny from the same year. Side-by-side differences become easier to spot. If you find something unusual, do not rush to sell it or clean it. Cleaning coins can actually reduce their value dramatically. Instead, keep it in a safe holder and consider getting it checked by a professional coin grading service. Now, let me bring you back to another relatable moment. I remember once showing a handful of old coins to a friend, and he literally laughed and said, "Why are you wasting time on pennies? They are basically trash." A few weeks later, I showed him a video of a coin auction where a simple-looking penny had sold for thousands of dollars, and suddenly his attitude changed completely. That is the thing about knowledge in the coin world. What looks worthless today can become valuable tomorrow depending on what you know, and that is exactly why collectors take even modern pennies seriously, because modern does not always mean common, and common does not always mean worthless. The 2014 Lincoln Penny might not be the most famous coin in history, but it represents something important: the idea that treasure can still be hiding in plain sight, even in a world where everything feels already discovered. And if you are someone watching this thinking, "I have probably thrown away thousands of pennies in my life," you are not alone. Almost everyone has. But here is the good news: it is never too late to start paying attention. Even if you never find $1 million coin, the process of searching can still be exciting, educational, and surprisingly addictive in a good way. Most of them are ordinary, worth just 1 cent, and used every single day without any special attention. But a very small number could have unique errors or unusual characteristics that make them interesting to collectors, and in rare cases highly valuable in the coin market. Depending on condition, verification, and demand, the idea of a $1.5 million penny is more about rare possibilities and collector excitement than guaranteed reality, but it is that possibility that keeps people searching, checking, and saving coins every single day. And who knows, maybe the next time you empty your pocket or receive change at a store, you will take a closer look and realize you are holding something special. So here is my challenge for you today: do not ignore your change, check your coins, take a closer look, and start training your eye, because the difference between a normal penny and a valuable discovery is sometimes just a tiny detail that most people never notice. And if you enjoyed this journey into the hidden world of rare coins, make sure you subscribe, because I will keep bringing you more stories, tips, and secrets about coins that could be worth far more than face value. Alright, listen up, because what I am about to tell you might completely change the way you look at the pennies sitting in your pocket right now. Yes, I am talking about that small copper coin you probably ignore every single day, the one that falls under your couch, gets stuck in your car seat, or ends up in a jar that you never bother counting. Now imagine this: what if I told you that one of those exact pennies, specifically the 1994 no mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny, has been reported in rare collector circles to reach values as high as $1.6 million in top condition? Sounds unbelievable, right? Most people would laugh and say, "No way, it is just a penny." But that is exactly what makes this story so exciting, because life-changing money does not always come in gold bars or lottery tickets. Sometimes it hides in plain sight in your everyday pocket change. And today, I am going to break it all down for you in a simple, friendly, and slightly funny way, so you know exactly what to look for and why collectors are going crazy over certain 1994 Lincoln pennies. And stick with me till the end, because I will also share a personal story about a coin mistake I made that still makes me laugh today, and it might save you from doing the same thing. So grab your coffee or tea, sit back, and let us dive into the hidden world of the 1994 no mint mark Lincoln penny that could secretly be worth a fortune. Now, first things first, let us understand what we are even dealing with. The 1994 Lincoln penny is part of the modern Lincoln cent series, which has been produced for decades by the United States Mint. Most of these coins were made in massive numbers. We are talking billions, so naturally most 1994 pennies you find are only worth face value 1 cent. You could literally take a jar full of them to the store and still not afford a cup of coffee. But here is where things get interesting. Collectors are not just looking for any 1994 penny, they are looking for rare versions, errors, and unusual production mistakes that make a coin stand out from the rest. And one of the most talked about versions is the 1994 no mint mark Lincoln penny. Now, normally a mint mark tells you where the coin was made. For example, coins from Denver have a D, coins from Philadelphia often have no mint mark in certain years. But modern expectations sometimes make collectors suspicious when something looks different or unusual. So when people hear no mint mark 1994 penny, they immediately start checking their coins more carefully, because sometimes a missing or unusual mint mark situation can point to a rare error strike or special minting condition. And in the coin collecting world, errors are where the real money lives. Now let us talk about why some of these pennies are rumored or reported to reach insane values, like $1.6 million. Before you get too excited, let me be honest with you, not every 1994 penny is worth millions. In fact, almost all of them are not, but extremely rare error combinations or perfect condition specimens combined with unique minting mistakes can become highly desirable. Collectors love three things: rarity, condition, and demand. If a coin checks all three boxes, it can go from 1 cent to hundreds of thousands or even millions in extreme cases in the collector market. Now let us break down the types of features that could make a 1994 no mint mark Lincoln penny extremely valuable. First, error strikes. These happen when the coin is not produced correctly at the mint. It could be double striking, off center striking, or unusual die conditions. Imagine a machine stamping coins thousands of times per hour. One tiny glitch, and suddenly you have a rare collectible instead of pocket change. Second, high-grade condition coins that look almost perfect even after decades are extremely rare. If a 1994 penny has never been circulated, no scratches, no wear, full original shine, collectors call that mint state condition, and high-grade coins are where values start climbing fast. Third, unusual mint mark or missing mint mark anomalies. Sometimes coins are struck in ways that confuse collectors, and when confusion enters the market, curiosity goes up, and when curiosity goes up, prices fall. Now let us imagine a scenario: a collector finds a 1994 Lincoln penny in pocket change. At first glance it looks normal, but under magnification they notice something odd. The strike is slightly off center, the surface looks unusually sharp, and the coin has a flawless copper red finish. They send it for grading. It comes back as a top tier mint state error coin. Now suddenly that 1 cent coin is being talked about in auction circles, and in rare hype-driven cases like this, rumors of values reaching up to $1.6 million start circulating. Even if such prices are rare or speculative, it shows how powerful coin collecting demand can be. Now let me slow down a bit and give you a real-world tip. If you ever find a 1994 penny, do not clean it. I repeat, do not clean it. This is one of the biggest mistakes beginners make. Cleaning a coin destroys its natural surface and can drop its value instantly. Collectors want original condition, even if the coin looks a little dirty. Now, before I forget, let me share that personal story I promised you. A few years ago, I was going through an old jar of coins at my relative house. You know, those big jars people keep in the kitchen filled with random change. I was just casually sorting through them, not expecting anything, and I found what looked like a slightly shiny penny. I remember thinking maybe this is one of those rare ones I hear about online, so in my excitement, I did what every beginner should never do: I cleaned it. Yes, I washed it with soap. I even used a cloth to make it shine. I was so proud of myself, thinking I had discovered treasure. Later, I showed it to a local coin enthusiast. He looked at it, smiled, and said, "Well, you had a normal penny, and now you have a very clean normal penny." That moment taught me a lesson I will never forget. Condition is everything in coin collecting, and cleaning coins is basically like erasing value with your own hands. So, if you take anything from my experience, let it be this: never clean old coins ever. Now, coming back to the 1994 no mint mark penny discussion, the reason these stories go viral is because people love the idea of hidden treasure. We all want to believe that something valuable might already be sitting in our house, and sometimes that is actually true, not always $1,000,000 true, but sometimes hundreds or thousands of dollars true, depending on the error and condition. So how do you check your 1994 penny properly? First, look at the date, clearly make sure it says 1994, then look at the front of the coin, check Abraham Lincoln portrait for any doubling or strange marks, then flip it, and look at the reverse side, look for weak detail, clarity, and any unusual strike patterns. Finally, check the edge and surface condition. Does it look too perfect for its age? Does it look slightly different from normal pennies you see every day? If yes, then it might be worth getting it checked by a professional grading service. Now let us talk about why collectors are willing to pay huge money for rare pennies. In general, it comes down to psychology. Collectors are passionate for them. Coins are not just money, they are history, art, and rarity combined. Owning a rare coin is like owning a tiny piece of time frozen forever in. When two collectors want the same rare piece, the price can skyrocket. That is how stories of $1,000,000 pennies are born, not because every penny is worth that much, but because the rarest ones attract extreme competition. Now, I want you to imagine something. You are sitting at home, you grab a handful of change, and you suddenly realize one of those coins could be life-changing. That is the thrill that keeps people searching every single day, and honestly, that is what makes coin collecting so addictive and fun. But here is the truth: most experts will tell you finding a $1,000,000 penny is extremely rare. However, finding valuable error coins worth $10, $100, or even a few $1,000s is absolutely possible, and that alone is enough reason to start checking your change more carefully. So next time you get coins in your pocket, do not ignore them. Take a second look, because you never know what story that little penny is hiding. The 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has become one of those mysterious coins that sparks curiosity, excitement, and a bit of treasure hunting fantasy. While most of them are ordinary and only worth 1 cent, rare error versions in exceptional condition have been reported and discussed in collector markets with values that can reach extremely high figures, including claims as high as $1.6 million in special cases. But the real lesson here is not just about money, it is about awareness. It is about looking closer at the small things we usually ignore, because sometimes value hides in plain sight. Now, before you go, I want to say this: do not just watch this video and forget about it. Go check your coins, look through the jar, check your wallet, ask your family if they have old change lying around, and who knows, maybe the next story we talk about will be yours. And if you enjoyed this video and want more simple tips and hidden secrets about coins that could be worth real money, then make sure to subscribe, because I will keep bringing you more stories about everyday coins that might just surprise you. But what if I told you that one ordinary looking penny could secretly be worth $1.7 million? Yes, you heard that right, a single cent that could change your entire life overnight. Today we are diving deep into one of the most talked about coins in the hobby, the 1979 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. A coin that some collectors claim has sold or been valued as high as $1.7 million in top condition, with rare errors and unique characteristics that make it almost legendary in the world of coin collecting. Now, before you laugh and think this sounds too good to be true, let me tell you something interesting. Every year people around the world find valuable coins in the most unexpected places. Piggy banks, old jars, couch cushions, even vending machine change. And the crazy part is most of them had no idea what they were holding until it was too late. So today, we are going to break this down in a simple, friendly, and slightly humorous way, so you can understand exactly why this penny is creating so much buzz, how to identify it, and what makes it potentially life-changing. And stick around, because I will also share a funny personal style story that every coin hunter can relate to, and it might sound a little too familiar if you have ever checked your pocket change. Let us start with the basics. The 1979 Lincoln penny is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series that began in 1909. By 1979, the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies every year using the Lincoln portrait on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. Most of these coins were produced in Philadelphia and Denver and San Francisco, with mint marks showing where they were made. Now here is where things get interesting. The no-mint mark version usually means it was struck in Philadelphia. At first glance, that sounds common and not valuable at all. And in most cases that is true. The average 1979 no-mint mark penny is worth just 1 cent. Sometimes a few cents if it is in great condition. So why on earth are people talking about a $1.7 million version? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and errors. In the world of coin collecting, value does not come from age alone. It comes from scarcity, demand, and uniqueness. A coin becomes valuable when something unusual happens during the minting process. That could be a double strike, a misprint, a wrong planchet, or a proof like finish accidentally used in circulation coins. Some collectors believe that extremely rare variations of the 1979 no-mint mark penny exist with unusual striking errors or experimental dies that were never meant for circulation. When these rare pieces show up in perfect condition, they become the holy grail for collectors. Now let us talk about condition, because this is extremely important. Coin grading is everything. A worn, scratched, and dirty penny is almost worthless even if it is rare. But a flawless, shiny, uncirculated penny can multiply in value many times over. Professional grading services examine coins under magnification to determine their condition. A perfect grade coin is extremely rare, and that alone can turn a common coin into something extraordinary. So imagine combining a rare minting error with a perfect condition coin. That is where the big money stories come from. Now let us address the million-dollar claim. In the coin world, prices often come from private auctions or rare collector deals. When two wealthy collectors want the same rare coin, the bidding can go extremely high. That is how you sometimes hear stories of coins reaching hundreds of thousands, or even millions in value. While not every claim is verified in public records, the excitement around rare Zinc pennies keeps growing every year. Now I want to slow down for a moment and make this real for you. Because you might be thinking there is no way something like this is sitting in my pocket change. But that is exactly what makes coin collecting so exciting. It is not like buying lottery tickets. You are not just hoping randomly. You are actually observing real objects that pass through your hands every day. Let me tell you a funny, relatable story that sounds like something many coin collectors go through. A few years ago, I was sitting with a friend who is obsessed with coins. And I mean seriously obsessed. He checks every coin like it is a hidden treasure map. One day we were at a small roadside tea stall. The vendor handed back change, and my friend froze, like he had seen gold. I laughed and asked him what happened. He slowly picked up a penny, looked at it like a detective, and said, "This one feels different." I told him, "It is just a penny, relax." But he insisted, and kept it safely in his wallet like it was a diamond. Later that night, he called me excited, saying he had checked it under a light, and thought it might be a rare error coin. Spoiler alert, it was not worth millions, but it taught me something important. The excitement is real. The possibility keeps people hooked. And sometimes, that curiosity leads to actual discoveries. That is exactly how many valuable coins are found. Not in museums, but in everyday moments of curiosity. Now coming back to the 1979 no-mint mark penny, there are a few things you should always look for if you want to check your coins. First, look at the surface. Is it unusually shiny compared to normal pennies from that year? Second, check for doubling in the letters or numbers. This is called a double die error, and it can significantly increase value. Third, look for off-center strikes where the design is not properly aligned. And finally, pay attention to any unusual coloration or texture that does not match normal pennies. Even if you do not find a million-dollar coin, you might still find something worth far more than 1 cent. And that is already a win. Another important factor is demand. Coin values are not fixed like price tags in a store. They change depending on how many collectors want a specific coin at a specific time. That is why a coin can be worth one amount today and more tomorrow. The rare coin market is constantly moving and evolving. Now let us talk about storage and care. If you ever think you have found a valuable coin, do not clean it. This is one of the biggest mistakes beginners make. Cleaning a coin can destroy its surface and reduce its value dramatically. Instead, store it in a protective holder and keep it safe until it can be evaluated by a professional. You should also consider getting it graded by a professional service if you believe it is rare. They will authenticate it and assign a condition score which helps determine its market value. At this point, you might be wondering if you should start checking every penny you own. And the honest answer is yes. Not because you will become a millionaire overnight, but because it only takes one discovery to change everything. Many collectors started exactly like that. Just curiosity and a handful of change. The 1979 no-mint mark Zinc penny is a perfect example of how something ordinary can suddenly become extraordinary. It represents hope for collectors and everyday people alike that treasure might still be hiding in plain sight. So here is the big takeaway from today. That small copper penny sitting in your drawer or pocket might not look like much, but in the right condition with the right rare error, it could be worth an unbelievable amount of money. Stories of coins reaching values like $1.7 million may sound shocking, but they are exactly what keeps the world of coin collecting alive and exciting. You do not need special equipment or expert knowledge to start. You just need curiosity, patience, and a willingness to look at everyday change a little differently. And who knows, the next time you hear a penny drop, it might just be the sound of opportunity knocking on your door. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare coins, valuable pennies, and hidden treasures still circulating today, make sure you subscribe to the channel. There are so many more secrets waiting to be uncovered, and you would not want to miss the next one. Imagine this for a second. You are holding a simple penny in your hand, nothing special, nothing shiny, nothing that looks like it could change your life, and then someone tells you that this exact penny could be worth $1.8 million. Yes, one single cent that could buy you a luxury house, a sports car, and a life you never thought possible. Now, before you laugh or think this is just another internet rumor, let me tell you something interesting. The world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and some of the biggest treasures ever discovered were hiding in plain sight inside pocket change, piggy banks, and old jars forgotten in drawers. Today, we are talking about one of the most talked about modern coins, the 2023 D-Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny, and why collectors are going crazy over rare error versions of it, and how some reports claim that special versions of this coin have been valued as high as $1.8 million. So stay with me, because what you are about to hear might make you run to check your wallet, your car seats, and even that dusty jar in your kitchen. The 2023 D Lincoln penny is a modern United States 1-cent coin minted in Denver. The D-Mint mark simply shows where it was produced, and in this case Denver, Colorado. This coin features the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln on the front, and the familiar shield design on the back. Now, most of these pennies are only worth 1 cent, and that is what makes this story so fascinating, because every year billions of pennies are made, and almost all of them stay exactly at face value. But here is where things get interesting. In the world of coin collecting, value is not just about age, it is about rarity, condition, and most importantly, mistakes. Yes, mistakes, minting errors, are what turn ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures. A small misprint, a double strike, a missing detail, or even a slight shift in the design can turn a penny into a collector dream. And the 2023 D Lincoln penny has already caught attention, because collectors are reporting unusual variations showing up in circulation. Some of these reported errors include off-center strikes where the design is slightly misaligned, doubled lettering where parts of the text appear twice, and unusual surface finishes that should not normally exist in standard circulation coins. Now, let me be clear, not every 2023 D penny is valuable. In fact, almost all of them are still just 1 cent, but the rare error versions are what people are hunting for, and this is where the hype about the $1.8 million valuation comes in. In the coin collecting world, extreme prices usually come from a perfect storm of rarity, demand, and historical significance. If a unique error coin exists, and only 1 or 2 examples are known, collectors can drive the price extremely high, especially in auctions where competition becomes intense. Now, you might be wondering, how could something so small become so valuable? Let me break it down in a simple way. Think of it like baseball cards or rare sneakers. The more unique the item, the more people want it. And when more people want it than what exists, the price goes up, sometimes dramatically. The same thing happens with coins. Now, let me share a personal style story that might sound familiar. A few years ago, I remember going through an old jar of coins at my uncle's house. We were not even thinking about collecting coins. We were just trying to find enough change to buy snacks from a nearby shop. We sat on the floor pouring coins onto a table and joking around, tossing pennies like they were nothing special. My uncle casually said something that I still remember today. He said, "You know, one of these coins could be worth more than your entire monthly salary." We all laughed, of course, because it sounded impossible, but then he showed us a worn-out looking penny from his own collection. Nothing fancy at first glance, just dull copper and scratches. He told us that coin had a small minting error and had been valued at hundreds of dollars. At that moment, everything changed for me. I realized that coins are not just money, they are tiny pieces of history that can sometimes hide incredible secrets. Now imagine that same feeling, but multiplied by $1.8 million. That is why collectors are now carefully examining every 2023 D penny they can find under magnification, looking for anything unusual. Another important thing to understand is condition. Even if a coin has an error, if it is heavily damaged, scratched, or worn down, its value drops significantly. But if the same error exists on a coin in near perfect condition, then the value can skyrocket. This is why professional grading services exist. They examine coins under strict standards and assign them a grade that helps determine market value. Now let us talk about what makes the 2023 D penny especially interesting in today's market. First, it is modern, which means it is still being found in circulation right now. You do not need to go to an antique shop or auction house to find one. It could literally be in your wallet today. Second, because it is so new, not all errors have been fully documented yet. That means discoveries are still happening, and new rare variations could still be out there waiting to be found. Third, social media and online collecting communities have made coin hunting more popular than ever. One viral post about a rare penny can send thousands of people checking their change instantly now. Let us be realistic for a moment. While stories of million-dollar pennies are exciting, the truth is extremely rare coins like that are exceptions, not the rule. Most people will never find one. But, and this is important, many people have found coins worth hundreds or even thousands just by paying attention, and that is really the message here. Awareness. If you know what to look for, you increase your chances of finding something valuable. So what should you actually look for in a 2023 Lincoln penny? Look closely at the lettering on the front, especially the words Liberty and In God We Trust. Check if anything looks doubled or slightly blurry. Look at the edges of the coin to see if the strike is off center. Also check the mint mark D to see if it appears unusual in shape or position. Even small differences can matter in the world of coin collecting. And here is something funny that collectors often say: one man trash is another man treasure. But in coin collecting it is more like one person pocket change is another person retirement plan. It sounds exaggerated, but stories like this are exactly why people keep searching. Another reason the 2023 penny is getting attention is because modern minting technology is extremely advanced, which means errors are less common than in older coins. When something rare slips through, it becomes even more interesting to collectors. Think of it like a typo in a very carefully edited book. It stands out immediately because it was not supposed to happen. Now I want you to imagine something. You are sitting at a coffee shop, you get your change back, and there in your hand is a penny that looks slightly off. You almost ignore it, but something tells you to keep it. That small decision could be the difference between 1 cent and a life-changing discovery. That is the excitement behind coin collecting. It is not just about money, it is about curiosity, patience, and the thrill of the hunt. The 2023 mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny might look like the most ordinary coin in your pocket, but in rare cases, rare versions of it could be worth life-changing amounts, even reportedly reaching as high as $1.8 million in extreme collector markets. While most of these coins are still worth only 1 cent, the real opportunity lies in knowing what to look for and paying attention to details most people ignore. Coin collecting is not about luck alone, it is about awareness, curiosity, and persistence.